$1,700,000 in assets being managed. Franklin Templeton says that XRP is an important part of the infrastructure for world settlement. How long can BlackRock be quiet while Franklin Templeton and other big-name investors lead the way for XRP? What are we going to see soon? I want to give you all the latest news. We also have new information from Ripple's Reese Merrick, a lot of information about ETFs and where we think the price of XRP will go because of the desire for ETFs right now, plus a lot more, guys. Let's just jump right in and talk about it. Thanks for being here. So Nate Grossi says that Franklin Templeton, a $1.7 trillion asset manager, says that XRP is an important part of the world settlement infrastructure. This line is very interesting. There's no need for us to force them to hear this. Right now, Franklin Templeton is telling their clients this. Okay, the financial experts at Franklin Templeton help them with their money. That's what Franklin Templeton does. They also say that XRP is without a doubt one of the best digital investments in the world. I haven't seen them say that ethereum is a key part of the infrastructure for world settlements. This isn't being talked about right now, but they may have said it before. It also says that it will be very interesting to see how the biggest asset managers in the world set battle lines around different crypto assets. BlackRock, for instance, is not investing in XRP ETFs. This is really interesting to me. Bitcoin and Ethereum are things that BlackRock got into because their customers asked them to. Some of the biggest financial firms like Franklin Templeton and BlackRock are in competition with each other. I think BlackRock will feel the same kind of pressure when someone starts selling things they don't have, and people may start sending their money to Franklin Templeton to buy those things. BlackRock then said, "Oh, what? We'll lose money if we don't do this. Let's start right away." To give you some examples, we talked about this, and I don't know if you saw the movie where I showed you how wealthy some of Franklin Templeton's partners are. These are very important people. The infrastructure partners in Copenhagen have about $37 billion. Actis, they have about $16 billion set aside for long-term infrastructure. Digital Bridge is an important partner for institutions, real estate equity, Lexington Partners, private equity co-investments, Western Asset Management Company, Fixed Income, Royce Investment Partners, Small Cap Equities, and ClearBridge Investment are some of the companies that I've heard of. More than 13,000 financial firms with ties to Franklin Templeton are now pushing the same message. In the framework for global settlement, XRP is a key part. That makes my skin crawl. I love it. Okay, let's change things up now. This is Reese Merrick from Ripple. This man is the managing director of Middle East and Africa, in case you don't know who he is. He's been doing a great job in that part of the world, growing the use of Ripple, XRP, and RLUSD. In other news, Ripple bought Hidden Road last month. Hidden Road is now called Ripple Prime, and it has 300 institutional users that clear $3 trillion in transactions every year across markets. It's important. When you see that $10–12 billion are being cleared every day through this, that's when the XRP system starts to change. That cash is very large. You add G Treasury, every day that's $34 billion. You add them up, with these two companies alone, we're getting close to $50 billion. Don't forget that G Treasury works with more than 1,000 different businesses. And since those business clients can use their money 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, they can make interest on that money. The other companies in the same field feel like they need to follow suit. And now they will all be trying to offer the best Ripple Prime and the purchase of Hidden Road by Ripple are big steps forward. Ripple is now the first crypto-native company to own and run a global multi-asset prime broker, which means it can serve hundreds of institutional clients and clear and settle trillions of dollars worth of trades every year across markets. When you look at the size of Ripple's technology and its main assets, XRP and RLUSD, this really backs them up. When it comes to institutional access and usage, Ripple's Prime gives institutions a central way to trade, clear, and settle digital assets, derivatives, and fixed incomes. We know that around $7.5 trillion changes hands every day on the FX market, and that Ripple covers 90% of the world FX market. You begin to think, right? It makes sense to use blockchain for these things. We all know that swaps and futures contracts are very valuable, right? How much did the $1 quadrillion cost? They'll live on blockchain, right? Of course. When is that going to happen? I believe in the days to come. This makes operations simpler, which brings in more standard financial players to crypto, talks about RLUSD and XRP security and how they can be used. We've already talked a lot about this, but if you want to stop the movie and read this, feel free to do so. I'd like to talk about something else now. The question is, how much does XRP cost at its most expensive? This could have been its own movie, but let's get right to it. To figure it out, we need to look at the average price of XRP at different amounts. In other words, it might be lower in the morning and higher in the evening. The average of the current price is what you get. Don't go over these low estimates of $33.6 billion per year. They think that with all the ETFs in the US, that could reach $33 billion in the next 12 months. That cash is very large. Remember that JP Gann said it could be anywhere from 3 to 8 billion, and it went up to 4 to 8 billion. It's clear that these events are much bigger than what JP Morgan is saying will happen. Also, keep in mind that banks have to be very conservative with their predictions. The market would go crazy if they said 30 billion or something like that. That's all I want you to remember so you get it. For the XRP price factor, a safe guess is 33.6 billion. The 5x, 10x, 20, 40, 60, and 100x are all here. For many people, a $225 XRP could change their whole lives. I believe that XRP can reach $500 if it is worth $100 or $200. It's possible to get to 1,000. It might be able to go even higher. A lot of us think that. A lot of us are going to wait for that. A good number of people would pay between $90 and $100 or more. A lot of people sold their Ethereum when it went from something to $90 or $100. Then it went to $3, $4, or almost $5,000. That being said, I'm not going to act too quickly here. I'm going to relax. I'm going to look at the facts and decide what's best for my family. In this new world of ETFs, Chad says the only way to slow down the asset manager is for the price of XRP to go up. So if the price stays the same, these money managers will buy up all the extra XRP that's out there. Keep in mind that there are only about 3 billion XRP left on platforms that you can buy. There has been trouble because many of these ETF providers have been going to the over-the-counter desk and dark pools. Now, United States laws and rules are another thing that comes to mind. The current Clarity Act has a part that says Ripple should own less than 20% of the XRP amount. Right now, Ripple owns about 45%. You start to wonder if other businesses have a right to some of that cash. That was something David Schwartz wrote about. He said that the wallets or some of the escrow could be sold before it is open. So you start to wonder if BlackRock or JP Morgan have already taken action. Will these ETF makers talk to Ripple and say, hey, let's work something out? That's something Ripple could do too. They are now behind the wheel. They are in charge of everything. Oh, and I think people should pay a little more attention to this. I've seen everything in the crypto space. I've lived here for 5 years. I understand good and bad. At this point, I'm not really interested in anything else in crypto. I believe it can be summed up in 5 or 10 crypto assets. A lot of this technology is going to fail, while the ones that do well, like XRP, Solana, Chainlink, and maybe even XDC, XLM, Bitcoin, and Ethereum will do well. I believe that all of that value will now be switched into those. I think you will still get your meme coins and other things. The big institutional investors, on the other hand, are going to be looking for these funds, index funds that hold all of these different assets. I think that will be very effective. Okay, and then, of course, this is what I think will happen in the short term. During trade hours for ETFs, the price goes up by a small amount, like 10 to 20 cents. This shows that the XRP ETF is doing really well. Then, like now, it goes flat or even dumps after hours. If the market opens again the next day, we might go back up. This makes things more likely for a full price rise in the next few months or less. We saw that the futures market went crazy for XRP, which usually means that the spot price will change a lot. This was talked about on Sunday. You knew everything you needed to know to get this pump for less than $2, right? I told you I was going to buy XRP for less than $2. I also think that those of you who came and watched that movie used that to your advantage. Okay, that's why I found this interesting. Caroline Pham has been in charge of the CFTC. She did a wonderful job. He and Ripple and Brad Garlinghouse have met her. I also think she's the kind of regulator we need in this country. The acting head and chairwoman of the CFTC is her. Lock in Ripple Prime, Ripple Payments, Ripple Custody.